Welcome, everybody, to our latest MetriSight episode. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the contact center space and management of the contact center. And, certainly one of the things that I see is that contact leaders and technology support teams as well have to really work together to optimize technology behind customer interactions to ensure that things like voice and video quality exceed expectations. And sometimes they don't, let's be honest. When customers have a poor experience, it definitely impacts a company's ability to serve them. It impacts their brand. It impacts their reputation, even revenue or employee satisfaction. There's a lot of negative that can come when you don't have a good customer experience, as we all know. So today, I am delighted to be joined by Ross Williams, who is the Chief Product Officer at Virsae. And we're going to talk about how management platforms can help improve the quality of customer interactions. So Ross, welcome.
Thanks, Robin. It's great to talk to you again.
Hey, yes. So to start, just give us all some background on yourself and your role at Virsae.
Right. So Chief Product Officer and co-founder of the business. So Virsae's been around almost a decade now. And we are a spin-off of an integrator here in the Australia-New Zealand marketplace. So engineer at heart, I guess, and that's my background. Just recently in the last 18 months or so, Chief Product Officer.
So always innovating on new products and new ways to, basically use technology to help solve business problems, maybe create some new opportunities as well. To me, we've all seen that, it's pretty clear that agents are going to continue working from their home offices, either full or part-time. So let's start there, where, I certainly hear quite a bit that CX leaders are struggling a bit to support these remote workers from a performance standpoint. Is your headset working? Is your network working? Do you have too many apps running in the background? So quality is suffering. There could be all sorts of reasons that companies have these remote agents who just don't have the best performance as far as their technology goes. So I want to understand what you're seeing with your customers, your prospective customers even, as to why that's happening. What are some of the biggest causes that you're seeing, based on conversations as well as your own data?
Yeah. The work, as I say, the work from home phenomenon is here to stay. I saw a study on the weekend where 2/3 of agents would actually leave a business if they didn't have a work from home. As part of the business, and there are lots of good reasons. They're saving 4 hours a week, which they are able to spend with friends and family, and there's the monetary side as well. So I was interested to see that agents are saving on average $13,000 a year by staying home, so not having to travel, pay for parking, and eating in. So lots of good reasons why people want to do that and are going to continue. The tough thing is from a technology perspective is we know that contact centers have always been really metrics driven. So the average speed of answer, average talk time, first call resolution, those sorts of stats are there. And when agents moved home, that sort of visibility remained because it was part of the contact center application. But the part that went missing was where the IT teams ran the networks, managed everything. They had dashboards and lots of practice around the visibility of the technology. So they ensured that the customer interaction was of a high standard. When the agents moved home, the IT teams lost visibility of that network, of course, because the enterprise network is largely no longer used, and it becomes the home network, the home setup. And we did a bit of a study when I first started in this role as to the top 10 causes of poor quality interactions for at-home workers. All 10 of them are outside the visibility of most IT teams, which is kind of ironic. So, new tool sets, new management capability is required to be able to see that full end-to-end interaction, to see what's going on, rather than relying on the agent to do their own troubleshooting and fix their own networks.
So what are some of the 10 things, I have to say all 10 of them, what are some of the things that you saw in that study? I'm just curious.
Oh, the performance of the local workstation itself. Process memory disk, how many applications are running. Is there resources are up for contention? Is there problems there? And of course, the ISP itself. The not only up and download speed, but latency of the ISP. How well that network performs. There's a bunch of them that all kind of related to that sort of stuff.
I know I used to have problems with my, just my performance on. I always thought it was my internet access, and I learned that it was actually a statistical application I had running in the background. Whenever I had that running, I get the choppy, video, and when I turn that application off, miraculously, my internet improved, my internet performance improved, so it really wasn't my internet provider. It was the fact that I was running this app, and it was just happenstance that I noticed it. Otherwise, I probably would still be thinking I have an internet issue, and it's so that type of thing, you just can't tell. I've talked to you in the past about how you guys are now integrating with Gareiss headsets, right? With the Gareiss headset can integrate with the Virsae, service management platform. So talk to us a little bit about how and what that does, because I would think that if you can integrate with what's happening all the way to the agent's headset, you can probably get some insight as to what's causing some problems that might be happening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that headset integration, that gave us like the last yard, if you like, in the whole, sort of end-to-end picture that we're now capturing. Agents prefer to have, to be untethered from their workstation if they can. So Bluetooth headsets are really popular. Ironically, Bluetooth runs in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, so that's the same as Wi-Fi. So impacts to voice quality or video quality, tend to be cumulative. So you get the effects of the ISP, you get the effects of perhaps running, an application like you have that's taking up that resources on the hardware itself, and then you add to that the Bluetooth link quality, which we're now capturing. So that full end-to-end picture is really, really important. And that last yard, with our friends at Gareiss, enabled us to capture a whole lot of analytics that, frankly, went beyond what we were thinking. Even to the point of boom arm position, and which is a classic one for agents. You've got to have that boom positioned correctly. That sort of thing is now on visibility for IT and management teams.
So how does that play out in your tool then? I mean, is it just integrated in the same screen basically? Does it proactively give recommendations like, hey, sound quality is bad here, do X, Y, or Z, or how does it play into the whole platform?
Yes, it's a good question. We try to tie everything back to it in a particular interaction. So, for the likes of a contact center platform, say, for example, Genesis Cloud, we will capture the interaction itself out of the Genesis Cloud, but we will add on to that sort of all of the trace information that you might get from if you're using BYOC, you bring your own carrier and you've got your own session border controller. We bring that in, tie it together with workstation performance and the audio device itself. So when you use VSM and you look at an interaction, you see the whole thing, all the way from the microphone and speaker on the headset, all the way through through the cloud provider out to the PS10 where the call exits, and that's all tied together in a single interaction. So at the time, you can see if the boom arm was mispositioned.
Yeah. And to your as you see customers using this, are they really acting on it? They're seeing this data. Are they actually making changes based on it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was a classic example. I was involved in one recently, similar along the lines you just mentioned, Robin, where the user thought their internet connection was the problem, and they'd suffered in silence for a long period of time. And after they had deployed VSM and VSM everywhere, which gives them the insight into that end user workstation, the problem turned out to be that they were running applications, they were running out of memory. So they're running memory at too high a level. And that simple change was addition of memory to that device, and that problem is now solved permanently.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you think about what you do, as chief product officer, you're looking at all different ways you can improve this performance. How do you find that companies can see that, that ultimate like 360-degree view, that 360-degree visibility, I guess I would say, with applications and network devices and rooms? Like there's all these different pieces you got to pull in that where you ultimately really see measurable improvements in CX.
Yeah, the key is to have all of the devices along the path under management. And a key development for us during COVID was to create VSM everywhere, which gives visibility into those endpoints. So the end user workstation, the rooms devices themselves, and then tying that back, as I said before, tying that back to an interaction. So an agent would typically report a problem. They'd say, who they were talking to in the date and time. And while it's technically possible for, skilled engineers to piece that whole picture together and go through logs and pull all the files out and look at them, and a lot of manual labour from a very skilled person to piece together that full end-to-end interaction. We've automated that whole thing with VSM and VSM everywhere. So a regular tier 1, tier 2 service desk person can now kind of act like a tier 3. So all the information's brought forward and surfaced. And using our machine learning algorithms, we surface the likely causes of a poor interaction. So sometimes it's obvious, in which case we'd have like a red triangle with an exclamation mark on it, saying, "Hey, this is almost certainly the cause of your problem." And sometimes it might be amber, but we'll highlight those those potential causes just to simplify it and to reduce the complexity and the skill level required to troubleshoot these problems.
I mean, do you already, or do you think that at some point you'll be moving into like a self-service mode for some of this, at least, like some of the simpler, maybe causes for some of the problems?
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're, making that information available to IT teams and then sort of summarized, rolled up information available to management, really important that you surface that information for the end users, as you say. So that's an area we're working on right now. So those, 10 most common causes, if you like, we'll surface them for the agent. So, they can tell ahead of time or in real time when they're on a call if the boom arm's not positioned well, if they're getting interference on their Bluetooth connection, that they might be able to hear the external customer perfectly well, but it's not the same in reverse. So those sorts of things will be surfaced for the end user, so they can proactively take steps themselves.
Yeah, and that really does make a difference from a customer perspective because their overall interaction experience is going to be better at that point. So we certainly hear a lot about non-voice digital channels all the time. I mean, one of the big things in the news lately is how, Frontier Airlines got rid of all voice. I'm holding firm that these digital channels will never overtake voice and video. I think those channels are here to stay. My research tells me that. I see that. Not only do voice and video typically result in higher CSAT, they also produce kind of a crazy high number of data points. Just sort of kind of flying under the radar data points about the performance of the call. Now, AI obviously has to be a part of that analysis in order to just even determine what the insights are and to automate what you can do with them, automate workflows that can come out of that. And ultimately, I think you can improve things like your agent or employee productivity, even some security issues. So I wanted to ask you how Virsae helps in this area, because I know you're doing a lot in the area of AI and just trying to help in what I mentioned with the voice and digital channels and all you can do there.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely, Robin. Voice and video is here to stay. There's no question about that. And the conversations, let's face it, the conversations that really matter, when someone calls customer service because something's gone wrong or, they call their bank because there's an issue, you can't have a complex interaction with your provider via anything other than voice, unless you've got like 2 years to solve your problem. Yeah. So those conversations, those voice and video conversations, they really matter, and if the interaction with the agent is good, you build brand reputation, you build loyalty from that customer, they have a great experience, their problem's resolved. If it's not, if that interaction isn't great, it can have exactly the opposite effect. So, these voice interactions are really important, really important. And you did write about the amount of data that's generated by these platforms now, the cloud platforms, session border controllers, and now the end user workstations, the headsets themselves, intelligent headsets, they're all generating huge amounts of data. So what we do is we consume all of those. We're really hungry for all of that, any new data source that we can get our hands on. We love to grab it and bring it in, put it into the mix, tie it all together so it's related back to interactions. But the sheer volumes of that, we've seen, a typical interaction could generate 15 to 20,000 data points. In that engineering background I've come from for myself, I've pored over logs. I'm old enough that they were in hexadecimal when I started. Pored over that sort of thing, looking for patterns, and it's really a simple matter of for engineers is to find a pattern. What pattern of data points equals a good interaction, and what pattern of data points equals a bad one. And when you can do that across hundreds of millions of transactions, and we're looking at around about 600 million transactions a month on our platform. Those patterns around what constitutes good and bad, they start to pop out, and we've got some tremendous insight around like those common causes. We use our we're using Microsoft neural networks to do this. There's no rocket science behind it. It's really just a simple matter of surfacing that and making the information available for those who need to consume it. So engineers or even, if they're troubleshooting something, or even better still is proactively alerting, saying, hey, we're noticing these patterns. There is going to be a problem emerging for this, and getting on the front foot.
Yeah, so it really does. I think more than anything, it helps people be more proactive to avoid those problems from happening. Like if you know ahead of time, okay, this set of criteria or this set of issues or circumstances is going to create a good customer experience versus bad, you can kind of try and proactively make sure that what you're doing is sitting over here in that good category rather than the bad. Do you have any, maybe, I don't know if you do or don't, I know you're looking at so much data, but do you have any specific examples of how companies have used this capability that you provide by looking over all these data points to make a change or make a difference in their quality of their interactions, I should say?
Yeah. Across those hundreds of millions of data points, and it's very common that people use Wi-Fi in their homes. Not a lot of homes are have the workstation right next to the router, so you can plug in on a wide connection. A wide connection is always going to be better, and we all recommend that if you can. The reality is, for most people, they can't. We've got some really good examples around patterns we've picked up, and there is a distinct pattern between the signal to noise ratio or link quality that you see on a Wi-Fi system, and the receive level of the Wi-Fi signal itself. So just those two in combination. In isolation, they can cause a problem, but at a particular point, they definitely cause a problem. So we've had companies that use our insight just to coach people how to tune their home environment a little bit better. And believe it or not, a simple remedy for a lot of places is to put your router as high as you can in your house. So if that's up high, it's less likely to sort of have stuff in the way that's going to interfere. And that insight we've developed, just by seeing those hundreds of millions of interactions, seeing what the pattern is around that, and it is very, very clear. That one is very clear.
I'm sure you're learning new things every day as you look at all this data, new patterns that emerge. So just really cool, and I think really great value to companies who are using your platform. So I appreciate you taking out the time. I could talk about this for a long time because I'm a data geek as well, and I just love looking at data and just it's almost like a puzzle or like artwork in some ways, like the stories that develop out of just looking at data and all you can glean from that. So I really thank you very much for taking out the time today. I thought this was a great discussion, and just thanks for sharing your knowledge on CX management and insights and how you're using AI. I think that companies who are having issues in this area with their CX performance should definitely give you a call, talk to you, and you can tell them, Yeah, you can tell them all the things that are happening during that call and what's going right and wrong, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, it's a fascinating area. I mean, and to me, Robin, you've got a lot of data and complex, complex stuff, but the resolutions are often really simple. It gets boiled back to something really simple like the location of your router, and that gives me a lot of pleasure, actually, when you see such a simple answer to a complex problem that's been a mystery, for a long time.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners today. And thanks again to Ross for joining us. And I hope everybody has a great day.